Tune in, it's time to take the ride. Regina's voice, it's your guide. West Virginia's heart, it's right inside. West Virginia, why hear the news? Politics and stories, what's shaping you? From the capital to the county. To the rivers wide, tune in, it's time to take the ride. Regina's voice, it's your guide. West Virginia's heart, it's right inside. West Virginia, why hear the news? Politics and stories, what's shaping you? From the capital to the county.
All right, let's get this started. We are waiting for the press conference to start with Karoline Leavitt. And we are streaming from Right Side Broadcasting Network.
To take the ride. Regina's voice,
folks,
it's your guide. West Virginia's heart is
shortly. Stay tuned.
Yep, and if you hear that AI, that's my AI, open source AI co-host ChatGPT, Mary Beth. You guys, we are streaming across the YouTube platform, the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, as well as Rumble. You guys, your eyes do not deceive you. You see Mixed Texan Report in the picture. So we are streaming across his YouTube channel. Huge shout out to Mixed Texan Report, because guess what, Mary Beth?
What's up, Regina?
So Mixed Texan hit a huge milestone. He hit 1,000 subscribers. We couldn't be more proud, and that is a huge milestone. So today, you guys, I'm going to pull up on the screen. We are waiting for the press conference at the White House to begin, and we're just going to stream it. We're not going to interrupt it, and we thought our viewers could get the chance to watch it as well. You guys, please leave any and all feedback, comments in the comment section. Let us know what you think about all this. Mary Beth, you got anything to say? Tell us what you know of this press conference coming up, if you know anything.
Absolutely. So this press conference with Karoline Leavitt is expected to cover some key topics, though the specifics haven't been fully disclosed. It's definitely going to be interesting, especially given the current political climate. We'll be here to discuss it all once it's done.
Yeah, and I think that Pete Hegseth might be mentioned in that, and I love the way that Trump doubled down that Mr. Hegseth, Pete Hegseth is not going anywhere. So I wish we could just stop all this division, you guys. So let me check in on the press conference. I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Mary Beth, tell everybody to have a good day, and you will chat with them later. Tell everybody on Mixed Texan Report channel that if you are not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's free. It's easy to do. And if you're not sure, just watch all the way through. The watch time hours count the most, and I'm sure we'll earn your subscription by the end. Same goes for West Virginia Wire and all other platforms that we're on. Mary Beth, bid everyone farewell, my lady.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you're not subscribed yet, please hit that button. It's free, helps a ton, and we'll definitely earn your support. And for Mixed Texan Report and West Virginia Wire, your watch time means the world. Have an amazing day, and we'll chat again soon.
Thank you, my lady. All right, guys. So I've got it up here on this screen. We're just waiting for it to start, and then I'll put it fully on the screen like that, and hopefully it's going to start soon. I'll play some background music for you guys. This is original music. My husband, oh, here we go.
Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you. A big news day for all of you today, as we are in the friendliest village and loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, covering everything inside and outside of the Beltway, your go-to America First live desk. We'd like to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, Colonial Metals Group. Please scan that QR code now. Do not delay. Make sure you do this today, because you need to save what is your retirement intact. Everything going on in the world is just out of control, whether it's the Chinese Communist Party with their tariffs, with their war games against Taiwan, or whether it's simply wanting to achieve the things you want to achieve, especially in your retirement. So gold and silver are your go-tos. And Paul Stone, the great CEO of Colonial Metals Group, truly the best in the business, with patriots like Judge Janine Pirro, among many others, endorsing this outstanding company. freegoldguide.com/RSBN.
Wait, that's happening now? West Virginia Wire, Regina Reacts.
For everything gold and silver. Gold has gone up over 840% since Y2K of 2000. Of course, up over 7,000% since the Nixon administration.
Keeping it fun. West Virginia Wire every week. Let's talk the truth. Let's hear
All right, guys, we're just waiting for the press conference to begin. And we thank Right Side Broadcasting Network for allowing us to stream live as well. They're streaming across YouTube. We're getting through all the commercials and stuff, you guys. Looks like they got some good products. All right, we are streaming across YouTube channel of Mixed Texan Report. We are streaming across the West Virginia Wire YouTube channel, X Platform, and Rumble. Art King Connell 1516. You guys, thanks for joining. I think this should be a good one if we can get it started. What do you think?
I'm excited. Should be worth the wait.
I hope so. All right, let's go back.
Do not delay. Get yours today. You saw me on the network very recently. I tried this out for my dry hands. It works. So experience the miracle today. AngelPaste.com. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And as you see that beautiful shot of the White House, an absolutely gorgeous day in Washington, D.C., awaiting White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt's press briefing on this beautiful Tuesday. We are joined by former Congressman Rod Blum from Iowa's 1st District. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Let's tackle some of the updates regarding immigration with the Trump administration. We've had you on to talk about this, but these district court judges just don't seem to stop with their lawfare.
Hi, Robert. Good to be with you today. The Supreme Court yesterday, Monday, issued a temporary pause in deportations until the Supreme Court can, they say, deal with the issue, deal with the legality of it. The lawsuit was filed by the ACLU. Imagine that. And guess what judge they used to try to go through? Judge Boasberg.
I was about to say
liberal
Boasberg.
activist on in the court system. So they're put a pause, on the deportations. And I tell you, there's something, Robert, something legal going on every day in this country to stop the people's agenda. And if you talk to the average person on the street, not liberal activists, the average person on the street who works 8 to 5 and is trying to raise a family and do the right things, they're upset about this. And that's putting it nicely. Those are words I can use on the air. And you can tell you can see what the Democrats' agenda is. First of all, as far as immigration goes, let them come every time they have the presidency, let's let them come across en masse. I think the number's like 9 million illegals came under Biden, 9 million. So let them come across en masse. And then when they get here, say, hey, we can't deport them en masse. Though they came here en masse. So each one needs their due process. Each one needs their hearing. 9 million, Robert, need their hearing. If you run the numbers, I believe our court system can handle 350,000 illegal alien hearings a year. Run the numbers out. It's 28 years. So they know what they're doing. They're doing this on purpose. They're flooding our judicial system with illegal aliens, knowing that their hearing dates are never going to come up. And then when they do come up, they're going to say, hey, I've lived in the U.S. for 12 years. I've got 4 children here. They're in elementary grade school. You really can't deport me. I've got a job. And that's their strategy. Now, are they that kind, Robert? Do they have that much more compassion than Republicans do, Democrats? Why are they doing this? And everyone I talked to, the common guy in the street said, well, it's pretty obvious, Rod. It's for votes. They want to legalize them eventually and make them able to vote in national elections. And when I was in Congress, we did surveys of illegal aliens. And I think the number was 85 to 90% of them said they would, if they had the opportunity, they would vote Democrat. There's your answer. There's your answer. I mean, 40% of the people coming across the border don't have a high school degree. 40% do not have a high school degree. People that don't have high school degrees are heavily dependent on government services. So the Democrat Party, to survive and thrive and stay in power, needs a permanent class of people who are dependent on government services. And this is the group. and they're just importing the Democrat votes, and 90% of them are going to vote Democrat given the opportunity, and there you have it. And this is my number one issue, and I think it's the president's number one issue. We're in a world of hurt. This cannot continue. We need legislation to stop this type of thing and to make sure our border is secure. Because if a Democrat gets elected every, well, I wish it was every 20 years, but let's say every 5 or 6 or 8 years, we're going to have how many more? 10 million every time a Democrat president's elected. And pretty soon our country is going to be Mexico North.
Well, that's what's so interesting, Congressman, because you've been in the room where it happens. You've been a veteran of campaigns. Why in the world would they want this? But you seem to answer that with they want that permanent class. And that's truly the difference. Even when I've had the opportunity to go talk about politics with, say, elementary.
And you guys, I'm sorry for interrupting. I'll play it back and we'll fast forward through because Karoline Leavitt hasn't come on yet. My only question would be, it just seems like it's a tug of war. It's always a tug of war. So one administration comes and has to undo and revamp. So we spend the next 4 years trying to undo and repair. And then the constant division keeps coming. When does it end? I say stop this madness. All right, let's continue on and see. And this congressman is from Iowa. And if you guys have heard of the Shipwreck Show, you should go check her out. She's from Iowa. And
elementary schools or young students, the young patriots. It's vested in the president of the United States, not the courts when it comes to this very issue.
Yeah, Robert, I've always said, and I mean it when I say it, I have empathy, tremendous empathy for anyone in the world who's trying to create or make a better life for themselves and or their family. And the good people that are coming across our border, and there are a whole bunch of them, want to better their lives, want to better their lives for their families. I have empathy for that. That's a great thing. I understand that and share their wish.
And unfortunately, a lot of these politicians are making it worse. They're claiming that they're advocating for the rights of these immigrants coming over, but that's not what they're doing. It seems to me they're getting in league with corrupt gangs and stuff like that. So the people who have done well and are trying to do better, you know, there is a laid out system. Why aren't people following it? How do you stay in the country for 30 years as an illegal status, yet you're married to someone who's not illegal? I don't understand it. So help me make this make sense. I'm not sure. So let's listen in and see what this congressman has to say further.
I mean, I think, and I'm sure you would agree, America is absolutely the greatest country on the planet, probably that ever will be. And I think we should celebrate that and protect that. We can lose that in a generation or two. It can be gone. And, you know, they're gaming the system. We all know they're gaming the system. Your average person on the street that I talk to says they're gaming the system. You know, asylum. I'm an asylum seeker. That's what they're taught. That's what they're taught to say. I'm an asylum seeker. And then therefore you get a hearing. And if you fear for your life or you fear you're going to be persecuted, then you're granted asylum. Come on, give me a break.
And let us remind everyone that now El Salvador is the safest country in the world when it was the murder capital. So what is the reason that people would come over here and claim that they're fearing for their lives in El Salvador? I don't know. If you know, let me know. I'd like to know.
And get free education for your children. And get we spend about almost $10,000 per illegal immigrant per year. What other country does that? Now we're already $38 trillion in debt. I'm a business guy. This does not seem like a winning formula to me.
Thank you. So how am I an idiot, or is the congressman an idiot? I'm not sure. Let us know. We can talk about this.
We're in need. Why would we want to spend our money on some guy from Venezuela, for example?
Oh, it drives me nuts on a number of issues, especially, I mean, really grinding my gears thinking about back to then Senator Mark Kirk, who won Barack Obama's Senate seat, the last Republican in Illinois to serve in the United States Senate. I went back and watched an interview of his back from 14 years ago when we were 14 trillion.
Thank you, Mixed Texan. This is Mixed Texan Report.
Talking about we are defaulting on our loans, our interest, and we are a debtor nation. Now 36 trillion, as you mentioned, in the hole, and President Trump working hard on a daily basis to restructure the global supply chain and to finally export and
Okay, you guys, let's think about it like this. Any of you that are following the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively thing, right? What's the first thing they said that they would do to try to take over a movie? They would bust it. They would eat up the production cost, spend it on nonsense. And then once they were completely busted, they were out of options. So they would pretty much have to give things away. I feel like that's kind of what's been happening in America. We need to stop this madness. Do not sell your land to foreign entities, and keep it in your community if you can. We can thrive. All right, guys, let's continue on. Hopefully this will start soon.
Back, if you will, like the CIA calls it, because you have these people that might have their Ukrainian flags out on the front lawn, but they don't realize perpetuating this war actually has harmful effects, not only on the 1.5 million plus who have died and perished from that, but those who truly cannot seek asylum because we've been overrun by this invasion at the southern border.
Right. I have two daughter-in-laws, one from Paraguay and one from Bosnia. And they came here immigrants the right way, the legal way. And my daughter-in-law from Paraguay is still in the process. This is, I think, year 4, probably a 7-year process to become a citizen. They are dead set against these people walking across the border and being treated like first-class citizens here. I always joke to them. I always say to Baylin, hey, we'll take you down to Tijuana, walk across the border, and you're good to go. I mean, it's so wrong. And this deficit, what is concerning to me is, and this is on both sides of the aisle, during the campaigns, I never hear anybody talk about the debt and the deficit, ever. That's very concerning to me. It's probably our biggest, we talk about China being an existential threat. No, I think our debt and deficit is the existential threat. It can't continue. This cannot continue. You can't keep printing money like this. Who pays for this? First of all, interest rates raised. They're higher than they probably should be because the public sector, the government's crowding out the private sector in the bond markets, out there buying debt. They're selling debt too. So interest rates are forced to go up. And who ends up paying for that? Well, companies pass on their costs to the consumers. So our consumers in this country, through inflation, end up paying for somebody's going to pay for government spending. Milton Friedman always said this. One of two ways it gets paid for, either in higher taxes, and if we don't raise taxes, then it gets paid for with inflation.
All right, guys, I just wanted to update you that I've checked a couple of other channels, and we are still waiting for the press conference to begin. So we'll continue listening to Right Side Broadcasting. I really like what they have to say. I probably should flip over and see what the other side is saying. You guys let me know in the comment section what you want to see. Also, Mixed Texan Report channel, let us know what you want to hear and see.
He's a businessman. I think that's why he has the intestinal fortitude to tackle these issues. And they're tough issues. Trying to deport 20 million illegal aliens, tough issue. Trying to get inflation and spending under control and our debt and deficit, tough issue. And on down the line, these are not easy issues. Harvard, these colleges that are getting $2 billion a year of our tax dollars, I've got a good friend who owns a small construction company. He builds homes. He has a high school degree. I mean, probably talking to him at lunch last week, and he said, why are my tax dollars, Rod, going to Harvard, who has a $53 billion, that's with a B, Robert, $53 billion endowment? And I said, Dan, that's a great question. That's a great question. And let me tell you, there's a lot more Dans out there. That's exactly
that is a great question. And I just want to interject here. Miss Candace Owens, what are you doing? Why are you so staunchly defending Harvard University? I'm not understanding. A lot of people are calling you anti-Semitist. I haven't taken it to that level. I did see where you said certain language would not be allowed. So I don't know if that's true. I haven't dove deep into that story. I'm just wondering why, when we're finally getting unity, Miss Owens, why are you creating division? That's my only question. All right, let's keep going. You guys, if you know Miss Candace Owens, let me know. No airtime for propagandists. We already know they are liars. I know. All right, let's keep going.
Fewer white students.
Thank you for your comments, you guys. Keep commenting.
quite frankly, in the world. I wish Americans
Let us
were,
know how you
but
feel.
Asians
Either
are.
way, we
So
can
they
talk
meant
about it.
fewer of those and more of other races. Yeah, isn't that classic discrimination? And I think their lawsuit, I'm not a lawyer, thank God. I always said I have no problem against lawyers as long as they're back in their coffins by daybreak. I don't think it's got any merit. Where does a college or university or any institution? Now, if this is money that that's been apportioned through Congress for this year, and somehow it was held back and we can't do that legally, maybe they got a case for this year, but they don't have any right to the taxpayers' money. I don't know what under what law would that be. I don't have a clue. So I just think it's bloviating and
Agreed. Without our
intimidate
consent,
the president.
yes.
But I have news for them. They don't know the president because President Trump cannot be intimidated.
And tell us the story you actually shared with me when we were meeting at one point, that this guy goes literally 24/7. Again, you've been in the room where it happens, where you received a call, you were working on a bill, and President Trump and his staff said, you got to get over to the Oval Office like right now, just grab your driver,
Hands
come
on,
by
there
because
you
we got to
go.
talk about this. It was like 10:30 at night or something like that.
Yeah, it was 10:30 at night.
And if I could just interject you guys, here's where I see the problem with passing legislation. When everything's wrapped up into one big burrito bill, it does get confusing when it is pushed out to the public for voting, right? I've seen things on the ballot, for assisted suicide things in West Virginia. So we got to make sure that they're voting on things one by one, because if they're packaging everything up and then the package doesn't make sense, where's all the money? That's how they got the blank checks and all of that. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let's continue on. Hopefully this will start soon.
And I was whipping a no on that bill passage because I thought we could be doing more for working Americans that get their health care through their employers. And well, of course, the president, he didn't appreciate me whipping no. So, he calls at 10:30 and it's like, can you come over? Can you come over to the Oval Office now? And, sure. What are you going to say? No. And he goes, yeah. He goes, get your driver, have him bring you over here. I didn't say it, but I felt like saying, with all due respect, Mr. President, I don't have a driver. My driver's called Uber. So I got an Uber, and I probably got over there at, 11:15, something like that. And, Mark Meadows is in
And that's how it should be, right? Should every congressman and senator have a personal driver and a personal security force? You guys, I strongly urge anyone and everyone to go back into history when things were originally formed. Communities took care of communities. The local police force was called a militia, all of that. We have to reach back in. If we're not knowing what's going on 360 around our own communities, how can we affect change on a national level? I'm not sure. Let me know what you think. All right, let's continue on. Hopefully this will start soon.
Yeah, I put these here every day to remind me this is what I promised the American people. And I'm going to do my damnedest and work my hardest to make sure I do those. And I thought, who does that?
Right.
What career politician does that? Zero, I think. It's because he's a businessman. And this is exactly the reason he's elected. That's why people love him. And that's why he's popular. And his agenda is our agenda. But it was amazing, and eventually I switched to a yes vote on that bill because it was better. It improved Obamacare, and also helped lower the premiums of people who are working, getting their health insurance through their employers. But the Senate, if you remember the famous John McCain, gave it the thumbs down in the Senate, so it never went anywhere.
As I like to say, and God rest his soul, of course, I don't like to speak about people after they've passed, in a sense, but that was a moment of the Emperor John McCain doing that dramatic thumbs down, as you remind us of that. But thank you for that story as well, Rod, because I think it's fun for our viewers really to get an inside look at this president in action at the White House. To your point, really the art of the deal, and a deal maker, a businessman, really at heart. We always look at the first 100 days. We're getting to that point of the second term of his American presidency. What about your first 100 days for this 100?
Let me just say, I hope they start this press conference in the next 100 hours, that would be great in the next 100 days. But let's listen to what he has to say. You guys, I'll let you know if you check it out. We're still waiting on the press conference. So they are truly waiting. So hopefully they're getting last minute good news notes for us to share. I always enjoy Karoline Leavitt's press conferences. So let's continue on.
Like we have in the House of Representatives. And so you'd think like, hey, we got a Republican-controlled Senate and Republican-controlled House and Republican. Why are we not just passing bill after bill after bill? Well, it's because, you know, a lot of these bills, you know, the Senate Minority Leader Schumer says they're not going to pass. We're going to filibuster it. We're going to filibuster it. We're going to filibuster it. I think we should be running them up the flagpole past them in the House, putting them onto the Senate, over to the Senate, and let them vote it down. Let them filibuster it. And then let's go public with that knowledge. So I think Congress has been, I wish Congress worked more. I even said that when I was there. It's like we have like a third of the year off, a third of the working days off. And it's like, that just, you know, we were making $174,000 a year then. It's like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly. And I've heard so many good people talk about that. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year when the median income for their prospective area that they represent is probably 3 times less. And that is not an exaggeration. I'm actually working on a 10-part series on that right now. I'm just doing all my digging to make sure that I'm giving correct facts. So he's not wrong. So when you do the math, and I want to say it was Allie Hopper with the Impact Report, you guys can check that out on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a great space on the X platform just to really get to know people. They have, you know, all kinds of different speakers. But on this point, we do need to be challenging the salaries. What are they doing for these salaries? And are they depending on an elected office for a career salary? I don't think that it was ever meant to be that way. That's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you think. All right, let's keep going.
There's some Republicans that like to grandstand and, you know, like, hey, if I vote no, this won't pass. Now I've got all the power.
Patrick
and
Morris
I'm going to use it to the It's like, let's just make sure we're working on the American people's agenda.
Amen.
You know, I always think the American people, what they want, is that anyone's priority anymore? And we got Democrats in El Salvador going down there to try to bring back, you know, a probable MS-13 gangbanger, a probable wife beater, and they're flying down on our nickel once again.
And I will say that West Virginia was guilty of it too, but they weren't going over there advocating for Mr. Garcia's release. They were going over there taking selfies, thumbs up in front of the CCOP prisoners for what? What? I mean, how's that generating? Are you selling those pictures to the West Virginian people to generate revenue for the state of West Virginia? What was the purpose of that trip? I just need to know. Please, if you know, let me know. Either way, don't go over there wasting taxpayer money, whether it's a whatever the photo op is, right? Take care of your local people.
The average person that goes to the factory every day cares about this MS-13 gang member in El Salvador? Hell no, he wants him out of here.
Oh, it's absolutely extraordinary. And I think about the 2026 midterms, because my question has been, love your thoughts on this too, how will Republicans succeed without President Trump on the top of the ticket? Because even in states like Illinois that are deep blue, we saw more turnout because presidential years are more popular, but President Trump has clearly had a following with the MAGA movement. So how does that transcend in 2026? But also, as someone who has been
And you guys, if you are in the great state of Texas, District 30, Miss Jasmine Crockett's district, it's not just her district. There's a new candidate on the scene. You guys, I highly recommend you go check him out. He's on all platforms, and his name is Sholden, Sholdon Daniels, and I think he's going to be the one for District 30. Also, go check out Miss Jackson. She is in District 8, and Mixed Texan Report will give you all the lowdown on more of that coming up. All right, let's see what's going on with this press conference.
Visit to El Salvador on probably every Republican mailer and digital ad going into the next year of elections.
Yeah, I wish I knew exactly how they were going to go. I'd say two things there. You're correct on the 80-20, I think you said, Robert. The Democrats are on the 20% of the things Americans care about most. And Republicans are on this, 60, 70, 80% of those issues. That's a great place to be coming into the midterms. Now, the Democrats, in every district are going to say like, well, I wasn't supportive of that. I wasn't supportive. They'll say and do anything to get reelected. Let's face it. There's so little people with spines these days in Congress. That's why.
All right, guys, I just wanted to pop in and let you guys know. So if you see, I'm tracking the press conference. So Fox 9 Minneapolis has the press conference starting in 30 minutes. And I thought that it was at 1 p.m. I figured right Side Broadcasting was going on a little bit earlier. I'm enjoying the interview, you guys. If you want to see something else, let us know. And maybe we'll pop over to the X platform in the meantime, and I can show you the opponent of Jasmine Daniels. Jasmine Daniels. Sorry about that, Mr. Daniels. Jasmine Crockett has a new opponent, Sheldon Daniels.
2 years after Trump took office. So I always look at it like it wasn't necessarily a vote against me, it was a vote against President Trump. And how do we, I think the key for the Republican Party is how do we keep the Trump voter voting Republican? Because I would go, I went to most all of his rallies and spoke at him in Iowa for the caucuses. And I look in the crowd, and I know a lot of people in Iowa. I look in the crowd, I didn't see a single person, Robert, I knew. And you can't judge a book by its cover, but a lot of people there look like they were factory workers, look like they were blue collar, which is fantastic. I love that. And it's like he brought all those people to the MAGA movement. And so there's so many people there that are not traditional Republicans. Now, the $64,000 question is, does that translate to your House of Representatives or your Senate?
So, and we're hoping that we're going to make it translate. So as I spoke before, here is Mr. Sheldon Daniels for Congress. Meet Sheldon Daniels, Army veteran, attorney, small business owner, and the common sense fighter running to flip Texas 30. While Jasmine Crockett chases headlines, I'm building a movement to put working families, small businesses, and public safety first. Join the fight. And he's a really good guy. I've seen him on a lot of interviews, actually. So as much as we can push him forward, I would like to do that, you guys. And I would truly love to see Joe Rogan offer the same terms he offered to Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I would like him to offer it to Jasmine Crockett or even the Breakfast Club or Charlemagne, or I refuse to call you the title behind that, and I refuse to call Jeremy that too. So just saying. But any of y'all, Steve Harvey, any of y'all, come on. There should be a debate. The people deserve a debate, and they shouldn't have to have their pockets lined with $1 million to see a debate. All right, let's keep going.
Everything happening America first. Thank you to our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, Tax Network, TNUSA.com.
All right, guys. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting for this press conference. This one over here states that it will be going live in about 30 minutes, which I thought it was 1 p.m. I should have double checked that. So forgive me. So we'll just keep everybody entertained. Maybe we'll come over here to the X platform and check my X files, see what's in my bookmarks. I call it my X files. Lord only knows what's in here. Hang tight, you guys. Hang tight. Oh, well, this is hopefully what Karoline Leavitt will be addressing today in about 25, 30 minutes. Let's take a listen in.
Were you aware of Kilmar's domestic violence on his record and human trafficking
As I
concerns?
said, everything should be presented to the federal district court.
I don't know about y'all, but I'd say he was pretty daggum aware, and this is true. Democrats kicked me out. Trump invited me back. And Vice President Vance gave his condolences for the passing of the Pope. You guys, if you were not aware, Pope Francis did pass on to the other side. So he wrote, I'm grateful every day for this job, but particularly today where my official duties have brought me to Rome. And I've heard it's a beautiful city. My father visited there. He went to the Sistine Chapel and everything, where my official duties have brought me to Rome on Good Friday. I had a meeting with Prime Minister Maloney and her team, and will head to church soon with my family in this beautiful city. I wish all Christians all over the world but particularly those back home in the U.S. A blessed Friday. He died so that we may live. And then we all know that, Vice President Vance did meet with the Pope, and it was a nice meeting. And so I was really happy about that. And then, there's a really cool process they go through to bring in another pope. So I think I might be following that along too. So let's check back in with Right Side Broadcasting and see who they're talking to now.
On China, what have been your biggest things that you think are successes for this administration, and what could be worked on, whether it's with Congress or in an executive order fashion, in order to continue making America great again?
Well, good morning, Bobby. I'm happy to be with you. And yes, we're getting close to those 100 days, and it's been go, 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 and as many call it, Trump time. Well, I think one of the biggest accomplishments that we've seen so far is the art of the deal in the making, like you stated, with those tariffs that are happening across the board and the negotiations that are happening. That's what President Trump does best. And I think what this administration does best, really. And I think some of the things that can be worked on is, I know you were just talking with former Congressman Rod Bloom, and he was stating that, what was going on with this deportation thing in El Salvador, not giving Democrats the bait to continue to say that this administration continues to make mistakes, when the border really was the thing that the president really wanted to be solid on, and getting those violent, illegal aliens and criminals out of the country. But at the same time, you saw with these 4 congressional Democrats going down to El Salvador, I think the best thing is to let them keep talking and making fools out of themselves. We actually saw Congressman Maxwell Frost from Orlando, Florida, go on the Will Cain show and say that his constituents and those in the same boat as Abrego Garcia would like to see him talk about this issue. But the reality is, what is a constituent? Well, that's the people that vote for him. And frankly, illegal aliens are not allowed to vote, Bobby. So, continue to let the Democrats make, the mistakes they need to make, but also keep it cleaned up on the side of the administration, of course.
And that's what's mind-boggling to me, Ashley, because you have a situation where it seems as if they're trying to bring in millions and millions of new voters so that they can be dependent upon the government. And we know just in nature, whether or not people believe in the Republican platform or the Democrat platform, it's just case in point, really going back to the American Civil War, the modern party system, this 2-party system. Republicans believe in the individual, whereas Democrats need that groupthink. And they once were a classic liberal party standing for free speech. I think about JFK and RFK Sr. and wanting to work on civil rights and civil liberties. There was once a time in this country where you had a robust Democrat party, demos being the Greek root of the people. If you literally translate that, now they seem to be just of their own personal interest.
Yeah, there's a lot of books and stuff that you can go to research all this stuff. I love reading. We have some books on our channel, West Virginia Wire, and we started a new channel, Bobina's Book Nook. You guys, we are waiting for Karoline Leavitt press conference. I think we've got, let me check the time on it. So we've got 24 minutes until this starts. I'm sorry, you guys. I had the time wrong. I definitely would have waited till closer to time for the press conference to start, but we are enjoying Right Side Broadcasting Network. I like the things they have to say, but why don't we troll on over and see what the other channels are saying? What do y'all want to do? Let's see. I wonder who else is covering this. Live Karoline Leavitt press conference. Let me put this back on so you don't have to listen to me.
System really will win him an election. In reality, I think that many of these Democrats are speaking out about their peers that are taking and running with these issues that really are not going to translate when it comes to these elections coming 2026. And I think if Republicans continue to keep that clean slate, that they have a winning, they'll have a winning tenor in the next probably going on 10 years.
Yeah, it's really a situation. I look back to almost the Hoover Republicans. When you look back at what took place with all of that, you had 20 years of Democrats really dominating on a national scale, whether it be the White House or Congress. I think that can translate here with Republicans dominating. But how do you get the Trump voter out to support other Republicans down ballot when, as the former congressman put it
over the world to secure world peace and to fix up the foreign policy crises that the previous administration left for this team to inherit.
So to be clear, we all in this room and around the country would agree that we're glad no American service members were harmed, and we're glad that the mission was a success. We'll stipulate that. But the president said that Pete Hegseth said,
I'm not sure when this is from, but Karoline Leavitt won't tolerate this huge fight during White House. I don't know when this was. We'll just watch it. They're still saying the live press conference is in about 20 minutes. You guys, I hope I'm not muted out. I'm not. Okay.
And more as being not classified.
I've already been asked and answered this question. The president's thoughts on this remain the same today as they were yesterday, as well as the Secretary of Defense. This question.
Reminder, we are still waiting on the live press conference. I don't know when this is from.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you, Karoline. So
I'm trying to find out.
Launch times on a mission strike classified.
Again, I would defer you to the Secretary of Defense's statement he put out this morning. There were various reasons he listed, things that were not included in that messaging thread that were not classified. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? This president and this national security team are putting our national security and the American people first. We are restoring American strength around the world, and the results of this operation speak for themselves.
Putting aside Jeffrey Goldberg, though, just for, for American service members who are going to have to carry out these missions in the future, what I guess the message that's coming from the response to all this that we're hearing is that, nothing sensitive happened. And I guess the logical conclusion of that is that if these messages had gone out publicly prior to the launch, that wouldn't have been a risk to service members. I don't know that they're comfortable with that. So can you explain, had these messages been published, would the plans have moved forward? Would the launch have still taken off?
What I can tell you is that the president, as the commander-in-chief of our United States Armed Forces,
Okay, you guys. So we're going to watch this really quick because I believe this is from today.
Of the Bureau so that they can be weaved in and dealt with as a whole within all the work. Yes, of course. Please. No, next, once we get do this.
Follow up on this too.
Okay, then hold it, but I'll make sure I give it to you guys. We're good.
You said earlier that you talked about some of the programs and you described them as, the aims of the programs were not in line with the aims of the country. Now there are countries like U.S. has made democracy promotion a priority, but that priority actually did not go down well with some of the countries in the world. So if a country, for example, a lot of people would give the example of Hungary. U.S. has funded some independent media organizations in Hungary. If those are in contradiction with Hungary's goals, U.S. is no longer going to do that.
No, it's not, without, of course, speculating on what we would do in a particular country. The point is that American tax dollars that are sent as aid or to supplement something in another country deserves to be used to reflect the values and the interests of the United States, which of course is democracy and freedom around the world. I think it's safe to say that with all of our actions, certainly the Trump administration, we have made it clear that that is our priority. But also making sure that the ambassadors who are also appointed, who are representing this nation, in countries and others who work at the consulates, in concert with the nation that we are working with diplomatically, that we have a coalition, if you will, on knowing how that money is being spent and making sure that the stakeholders actually have a say. I think that's fair. Some people would argue that sending money into a country, spending on something that nobody else discussed, like as USAID would do, is unfair. And that the people in the country that we're working with should have a say. But bottom line is, this now moves into something that is more accountable, more specific, easier to describe, easier to ask questions about, and easier effectively for everyone involved here at the State Department and at the embassies and consulates involved, more accessible and more transparent. All right.
Transparency. I like that. So you guys, we're going to watch this for a couple more minutes. Then we're going to head back on over to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I believe that Karoline Leavitt press conference that we were watching just a minute ago is old. I don't know. I'll have to look at her outfit when it finally comes on. So let's head back on over and see what they're doing over here.
In the administration specifically, but the real issue here is, should the government be able to still fund things? They have the right to free speech, but does the government still should they be able to fund, and it's such a large amount? Like you were saying, they already have a $50 million endowment, or 50 billion, somewhere in between there, million or billion, and 9 billion in government funding already that's being questioned as to whether it should be pulled. And I'm pretty sure the administration has already pulled that by using the IRS. But we see this, continue.
Miss Candace Owens, did you hear what that young lady said? Huh? She's just saying that not everybody's voting for that. So why should the government have to give such a large amount, is all she's saying. It should be free speech for everyone, So I don't know what your argument is with this, but I'm sure I'll find out.
Continued war that, oh, it's free speech. Well, you're a private university. You are allowed to say what you would like to say, but you are not entitled to government funding by the federal government if you are not bettering and using those funds in the appropriate means. So I think, funding many of these clubs, that's what with anti-Semitic rhetoric and going against the Israeli government, if that's their prerogative, they can do so, but you're not entitled to those government funds as a private university. And the American people should not be shelling out their taxpayer dollars in order to do so, in my opinion.
RSBN correspondent Ashley Brassfield, always lovely having you
Ms.
on the show.
Very nice.
And discussing the important issues of our time. We'll catch you back on RSBN very soon.
Thank you.
Remains the same, but will be more obvious, more clear, more dynamic, and more active.
Do you know where will that role move to? Because it's very hard to see in the chart, for example.
Easter Tuesday. God bless you. Happy Easter. Still go out and proclaim it, because it's the good news. We're in that Easter octave, and it's a joy and a hope to celebrate. As the great JP2 once said while he was in the pontificate, we are the Easter people. Alleluia is our song, and we're seeing the bright renewal of springtime, this lovely time of year with that emerald green out there on the White House. It's one of my favorite buildings. It's a museum.
Two questions. I know this came up on different settings. Just wanted to make sure.
It's the same issue.
Yes. It comes to the department's reports on different issues like human rights, which appears to be.
Well, look, I'm not going to speculate on whatsoever impact on how a report is issued, when it's issued, the content of the report, the nature of how our discussing human rights is done. I will not, all of that would require speculation here beyond, I think, the reorganization report.
And my second question, I know that I can say a spokesperson's role will be promoted, congratulations on that, but I want to understand with the GEC, closure of GEC recently.
GEC, yes.
Engagement Center.
Yes, no, that's a very good question. Yeah.
And also, eliminating some of the fundings, like, grants to Moldova to fight against the Russian disinformation. Is the issue of Russian disinformation or Chinese disinformation, is this something that you are concerned about, or are you out of business of combating?
Well, it's obvious that everyone's concerned about interference in elections. None of us want that, but of course, the specifics of how a reorganizational roadmap is not going to, I'm not going to be able to answer the question about how that would be affected, of course. But your other question was
Chinese and Russian disinformation.
No, there was a different one.
And your office will be promoted.
Well, it's yeah, and this is, I think, again, a bit in the weeds for people at home. I mean, there's an organizational chart. My office is now answerable to the secretary, which of course all of you probably already presume that, if that's true. But now technically it sits within that umbrella. So nothing has really changed in that regard, except it's a little bit more specific and obvious when it comes to the nature of my work.
Can we come back to Ukraine?
Well, forgive me. I'm going to move on. I was also going to answer your first question, which the GEC. Thank you. He remembered. In fact, that's a good question, because things beyond this roadmap will also happen. That bureau has been eliminated. Things will change in the State Department separate from this roadmap. That bureau, which had been ordered to be removed last fall, what they did is they changed its name and moved people around. And so that, of course, by eliminating that bureau at $50 million a year, perfect example, that worked to censor the American public. That is not certainly the vision of the Trump administration or the American people who put him in office. So yes, that bureau is gone. It is really gone this time. And the American people are better off for it. Yes, of course you can.
This process.
Yes.
There's an internal State Department memo that was put out about this that said that the undersecretary.
But I'm not going to speak on secretaries do have a role here. Because this is, again, not from on high things being swept away with one of those large yard brooms. This is a very specific dynamic brought to the undersecretaries who have daily operational experience. I see you. Keep your hand down, please. I'm sorry. It's a little distracting. These are undersecretaries.
She sees it.
who are
All
working
right, guys, stay
daily
tuned in
with
about
the,
10 minutes.
people in
Karoline
this
Leavitt is
building,
coming
who
on. I'm
work
going to
in
let
this
this lady
building,
finish
who
her
know
answer,
what's
and then
being
we'll
produced,
jump back
who
on
know what
over
has
to
to
Right
happen,
Side Broadcasting.
and they are best suited to make a determination when it comes to this roadmap about how to apply the nature of what we want to accomplish. So the undersecretaries are directly involved, and they will, I think they'll have about 30 days to make their own plan in this framework. And then, of course, we'll see how that manifests in the meantime.
And then just one quick question.
Sure.
Was DOJ involved at all?
Good example of the importance. We know the American people love the result of DOJ. I think there were some questions perhaps about how it was applied. And what we do know is that the DOJ approach, the goal of that entity and of that committee is something the president appreciated and still does, as do the American people very much. But when I believe the president said a few weeks ago that ultimately this was going to be an approach that the secretaries were going to begin to apply. And also that does make sense, because whether it's the secretaries or the undersecretaries or the people running the offices, it is the daily work of individuals committed to the country, making a difference for the world. And the people on the ground working together know best about how this.
And that means us. That means you. That means me. That means all of us in our local communities, in our local states, in our local counties and cities. And it is a lot to get through. We have to know what's going on. I used to think that I didn't have to know what was going on. And that's my apology to future generations for my laziness for not being aware of my surroundings. So you guys, we're going to head back over to Right Side Broadcasting. The press conference is about 5 minutes away, I believe, 10 minutes.
Our ports are being watched for deadly fentanyl coming through from the Chinese Communist Party. With Kristi Noem's work at the Department of Homeland Security, joining those ICE raids, and Border Czar Tom Homan really hitting the ground running, getting these bad hombres out of this country, and President Trump signing on his first day in office on Inauguration Day that these gang members are now foreign terrorist outlets. It will not work. So this also goes into our trade agreements, our tariff agreements with great friends like Canada. They are immune right now from any tariff threat, with the exception of if you continue to harbor any people that are in MS-13, who are in Tren de Aragua, who want to put deadly fentanyl into our countries, there will be tariff consequences for that. So President Trump literally restructuring the global order, not only the supply chain, but also international security as a result. And there are too many families who do not get to celebrate with those at the dinner table. And, this is dating back really to the Obama administration, if not the Bush administration and Clinton administrations, when it comes to the violent acts of people who came here illegally and committed heinous crimes. I think all the way back to, do you remember the 32-year-old Kate Steinle in San Francisco? She was shot dead by someone released 7 times out of prison who had illegal status
7
in
times.
this nation. Preventable crime, but was released again and again by rogue judges and DAs who don't want to do their damn job. and a federal government who, quite frankly,
and that's what they're doing. They're inundating the court systems. Even if you look on your local county or city level, you have traffic court division, you have felony court division, and a lot of those cases that are going through there, most of them are on at least a 1-year backlog. And then you have the right to fast track your case. And what does that really mean? So they've set in place all of this legislation, all of these rules just to get your court case heard. I mean, I don't know what to say. And then you add people who are not legal citizens don't have to prove their citizenship. And name one country that you can go to where that flies anywhere. I'm not sure I've heard of one. All right, let's continue on and see what this gentleman has to say. I like what he
Democrats and other congresswomen and congressmen want to go to El Salvador and then also
on your dime
the sovereignty of President Bukele and his nation. He's made what was once the most dangerous country in the Western Hemisphere into really a paradise in Central America. I'd like to go and visit myself to see.
And he's even said himself, President Bukele has said himself, why would I change that? And so people can't really claim that they're afraid for their lives. How are they afraid for their lives when it's been reported to be the safest country in the world? Not just from his lips, but from other people that are saying the same thing. So I'm not sure, why is Mr. Garcia in fear for his life, especially in El Salvador? I'm not sure. And all this pomp and fluff and stuff, them going over there on your dime. Look around you. Look around you.
Because our countries are working so well together, not only in bilateral trade, but for the freedom and safety of the El Salvadoran people and the American people.
And what these senators are doing could be considered an act of war from any other country for meddling in their country's sovereign affairs. Stop this madness. Let me just say it now. What? Stop this madness. All right, you guys. So the press conference is going to start in about 6 minutes. Hang tight with us. We did go live earlier. I thought that it was coming on earlier. That was my mistake, you guys. If you're watching from YouTube, you are viewing from Mixed Texan Report channel, you guys. Please make sure you smash that like, share, and subscribe, and share it out to 10 friends if you're liking what you're hearing. If you're not sure, stay all the way through. Watch time hours are the most important. And check out his merch shop. He's got a lot of great merch on there. Just follow the links in the bio section. If you're watching from West Virginia Wire, you guys, please hit that like, share, and subscribe, and check out the other great things that we have on the channel: books, Bible, and products. All right, guys, let's get back into this.
Missile. These people don't think, even like the Chinese Communist Party recognizes mutually assured destruction. The Ayatollahs do not care. They are hell-bent on spreading fear and danger throughout the Middle East and throughout the greater world. We'll toss that to that video live of Secretary of State Marco Rubio with the Qatar counterparts at the Department of State.
All right, guys, it would appear that we are getting closer to that illustrious, elusive press conference hour. So I'm super stoked. And there is no sound because they don't have their sound connected. So we're looking at Senator Marco Rubio. All right. And let me take down the banner so you guys can read what the news. Yep. Here we go. So it looks like things are about to start.
And our 72nd Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, truly
Secretary of
the
State,
best
forgive me,
in the modern era. This man has made it very clear. It's a simple agenda that the people working at the State Department will fulfill the mandate you brought to the federal government back on November 5th of last year. President Trump's agenda that it's America first. And if it's not in the interest of the United States, we're not going to dialogue on this. This is not some reset button that Hillary Clinton had with her Russian counterparts back in 2008 into 2009 with that stupid red button that, I mean, you might have that at your desk at home or at work, and I apologize for that because those are fun. But it's ridiculous to watch someone like crooked Hillary Clinton say, here's the reset button, Russia, and then create this Russia hoax with Crossfire Hurricane and the fact that her campaign spied on Donald Trump and his team while they were at the Trump Tower. running for office, because in their view, the globalists don't want a private citizen to rise to the highest office in the land, to become the leader of the free world and the president of the United States. But this guy, he stands the test of time. Whether it is literal assassination attempts or the lawfare coming from the judiciary, or these Democrats who seem to want to put illegal aliens before American citizens and residents, or if it's simply the fake impeachment hoaxes that took place, wasting taxpayer money, this man and his family have the wherewithal and have the guardian angels and God on their side. As he talked about last week on Easter or Holy Week Wednesday, with those great pastors that joined him there at the White House, we need God back in America. We need this revival, and it's happening less than 100 days back in the Oval Office, as we await White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing on this Easter Tuesday, and I'm sure talk about what was so much fun yesterday. If you did not catch any of it, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump spending time with the White House staff and guests from all 50 states and 6 territories, and some international guests as well, to enjoy in the Easter celebrations. And thank you to my friends who were on site, and you might have saw a familiar face of ours, of course, one of our talent, Harrison Fields, the great Deputy White House Press Secretary. And
all right, guys, so we are waiting for the great Miss Karoline Leavitt to step up to the podium and let us know what's going on with the latest. I did see on the X platform, Vice President, oh gosh, who was it? I'll find it. Let me find it. I hate when I have to do that in the middle of a live stream. But anyway, that an agreement was reached with India. And so hopefully she'll be talking about that as well. I'm sure she'll be addressing the latest shenanigans going on with the Signal app and Pete Hegseth. And then I'm sure we're going to hear more about the, let's listen in on this because it was really beautiful.
And First Lady Melania Trump, accompanied by the Easter Bunny.
This was amazing. She's so classy, y'all.
Master Gunnery Sergeant Kevin Benier, accompanied by the President's own United States Marine Band, will now honor America with the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That is beautiful every time. I don't care who you are.
it gives you goosebumps just to think of the beautiful music and celebrating this great nation. President Trump saluting his very own Marine Band. And of course, our lovely First Lady Melania Trump, her office puts on all of that. So those decorations, the book reading in the garden as well with the children, and all of the traditional.
And that's one of the amazing benefits of being a first lady, is that they get to plan all that stuff, and it's fun to do it, you know, and get people involved, get communities involved. Sorry about my camera. And so it should be starting any moment, you guys, any moment. You can see that they were being set up. So let's check it out.
Experience that miracle today with the Vitamin B Miracle Cream, a great thing to put on your dry.
And we're still waiting. We're still waiting. Let me see if it's going anywhere else. And again, I'm sorry about getting the time mixed up, but we are viewing the press conference from Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you guys want to go directly to their channel, it's on YouTube, and it's going live from several places, but they showed where they're getting set up. So it should be starting any moment, you guys. Hang tight, hang tight. I'm excited.
Wait, that's happening now? West Virginia Wire, Regina reacts.
That will make you just feel.
All right, guys, we are patiently waiting. And like I said, we are about to view the press conference from the White House with Karoline Leavitt. And if you see up on the screen, we are viewing it from Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we're just waiting patiently for it to come on. I thought it was going to start by now, but you know, these things always run a little bit behind. They've got to make sure things are set up. The mics are going good. All the people that are supposed to be there have been checked in and ready to ask their questions. So hopefully we'll get started really, really soon.
Chinese Communist Party with their war games against Taiwan or their tariff battle with the United States. freegoldguide.com/RSBN, freegoldguide.com.
All right, we're still waiting. We're still waiting. I'm trying to check out anybody else that's got something going on.
From the mountains to the rivers wide, tune in, it's time to take the ride. Regina's voice, it's your
For sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. As we await White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing. I think about those 1990s Bulls and the lead-up song, the da-da-da-da-da-da. That's why I would love to hear that right before Karoline comes out, because she is shooting those three-pointers. She is batting at 1,000 against these fake news wannabe reporters with some of their stupid questions. Did you hear on the lawn yesterday at the White House just how ridiculous some of them were in regards to that old news, that fake news, those leaks that are going on, which Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is clearly on top of, but they want to create this media narrative that somehow things are not right with the administration. And President Trump, as Karoline Leavitt put it at her first press briefing weeks ago now, that the best spokesperson for this White House is none other than Donald John Trump. And he set the record straight yesterday. Won't you get on to some of the more pressing issues like Harvard suing the administration?
I could not agree more with what he's saying. They want everyone focused in on another conspiracy theory with Pete Hegseth. This is ridiculous. And it's character assassination, truly, is what I think it is. But anyway, let's
within the purview, of course, of his executive authority within the office of the President of the United States. It's very clear in Article 2. And that's why, dating back to his joint session of Congress, that address stating that all we needed to do was change the person at the top, because AutoPen did not know what the hell he was doing, nor did he have the mental capacity to do the job of President of the United States. And so there's a great investigation that congressional Republicans can look into.
And if you guys aren't familiar with the AutoPen reference, so you know how if you go to the hospital, even if you go to the tax office, there's a lot of organizations that have it now, and they give you that little magic pen and you sign that screen. Even UPS, the shipping services use it, and you sign it. You can never get your signature right because it's always looking so sloppy, but that's what they're talking about. That's how the Biden administration was signing executive orders, was with that magic pen, e-pen, e-signing. That's ridiculous.
And that's why great warriors and patriots like former Congressman Matt Gaetz or Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, among others, really pointing out this hypocrisy happening on Capitol Hill.
Soon to be
If you were to ask
Congressman
me, people
Sheldon
complain at
Daniels.
times
You
that there's
guys go
somehow
check
this
out the
imperial
30th
presidency.
district in the great
I really
state of
believe
Texas.
it's more of the people who are on Capitol Hill for 30.
And in case you didn't catch that, you guys, District 30 in the great state of Texas, Sheldon Daniels, he's running on the Republican Party ticket. You guys go check him out, get to know him. And also Miss Jackson, she's running in the 8th district for city council. You guys go check her out. All right, hopefully this is going to start soon.
Governments and talk about the payment going to the big guy, or maybe voicemails that talk about, I think you're in the clear. Who talks like that? Well, it seems to be far left Democrats and those globalists who simply want to make money and welcome people like the Chinese Communist Party into the fold while screwing the
All right, guys, if you are viewing from YouTube, we are streaming across YouTube under Mixed Texan Report YouTube channel. You guys, please hit that like, share, and subscribe, and definitely leave your comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Let's talk about all of this. If you guys are watching from YouTube, West Virginia Wire channel, welcome. If you're returning, you guys get the business out of the way and hit that like, share, and subscribe. We thank you for watching. Karoline Leavitt is due to step up to the podium any moment. We are watching from Right Side Broadcasting Network. I am surfing around other channels, but you can obviously see that it's live. So hopefully they're going to be covering the recent deals that were made with foreign countries, one of them being India. Hopefully we'll hear the recent going on with Ukraine and Russia, as well as I know they're going to talk about Pete Hegseth and the latest propaganda that's been going around about him, unfortunately. And let's not be defocused from the issues that are truly at hand, you guys. Let's look in our front yards, our backyards, and our side yards. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Under the Trump administration in the last couple of weeks, egg prices going down slightly. So a relief for those, especially at the grocery store, one of my favorite proteins to stock up on. But it's amazing what AutoPen Joe left this great nation and our great 47th Commander-in-Chief to deal with, and he's doing it with a smile on his face. So make sure you get in on the action. Kalshi.com/RSBN, your great.
All right, you guys. So make sure you get to know your local electorate base, your local, even the people in office, your local incumbents, all of that. Get on your county commission board, get on your city council board, go to the meetings. They should be open to the public. If they're not, ask why. All right, let's continue on. So we're still waiting. Let's come over here. So there's the press room, and we are waiting. And hopefully they'll be on very soon. I'll play some music in the background till they come on. You guys, thank you for joining today. We did go live a little bit earlier. Forgive me for that. I thought the time was earlier. And I've been navigating different time zones like Central Time, Mountain Time, Eastern Time, Pacific Time, all of it. And it gets confusing sometimes. So we're on the far right, the Eastern Time Zone. I'm originally from Central Time Zone, but I have lived in the Mountain Time Zone. In fact, I lived in Central Time Zone and worked in Mountain Time Zone for a bit. So I lived in Texas and worked in New Mexico for a little while, and it was crazy. So anyway, we are waiting for Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt to come on and catch us up on the weekend goings on. You guys remember Pope Francis passed. Please, we lift them all up in prayer. And let me get some version.
From the mountain. From mountain streams to the rivers wide, tune in, it's time to take the ride. Regina's voice, it's your guide. West Virginia's heart, it's right inside. West Virginia Wire, hear the news. Politics and stories, we're shaping you. From the capital to the county line, we're keeping it local, keeping it fine. West Virginia Wire every week, let's talk the truth.
Thank you for saying that. I'm sorry it took me forever to find it. So World War II winner, thank you for saying that. It gives me encouragement and inspiration to keep going, you guys. Thank you for watching. We are waiting for Karoline Leavitt to stay behind the podium. We are joined by Mixed Texan Report channel on YouTube.
Wait, that's happening now? West Virginia Wire, Regina reacts.
Do you know why? All right, guys, we're going to get in a quick word from West Virginia Wire sponsor, Tranont.com/Regina Connell. You guys, you want to learn more about brain health, gut health? This is the place to go. My husband and I personally take these products. So we're going to get in this, squeeze in this word. And if you're on the Mixed Texan Report channel, hey, if you guys are interested, check us out. Also, remember to drive by Mixed Texan Report's merch shop. It's amazing. There's lots of cool t-shirts, hats, and the great state of Texas, wear it loud and proud.
Are you ready to take control of your health and wellness? Introducing Tranont Health Products, a premium line of nutrition and wellness supplements designed to support your body's natural balance. From essential vitamins and minerals to advanced detox formulas, Tranont's products are crafted with the highest quality ingredients to help you feel your best every day. Whether you're looking to boost energy, improve digestion, or support immune health, Tranont has something for everyone. Take the first step toward a healthier you with Tranont. Visit www.tranont.com/Regina Connell to learn more and start your wellness journey today.
Here she is, you guys. Let's do this.
Respect for his memory, President Trump ordered flags be flown at half-staff, and he will be traveling to attend his funeral in Rome. The president will depart from Washington on Friday morning and return to the United States on Saturday evening following the funeral service. I can also confirm the dates of the president's trip to the Middle East. He will travel to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates from May 13th until May 16th. And on Thursday of this week, President Trump will welcome Norwegian Prime Minister at the White House for a working visit. The two leaders will discuss trade and regional security. This will be the 13th head of state visit of President Trump's term already. At the border, President Trump continues to deliver on his promise to make America safe again. The Wall Street Journal captured the Trump effect in a recent article. Border crossings grind to a halt as Trump's tough policies take hold. U.S. Customs and Border Protection recorded its lowest southwest border crossings in history in March, and we're seeing the same successes at our northern border. Here's how the New York Post put it. Northern border sector previously overrun by illegal migrants sees dramatic drop in crossings. We haven't seen anyone since November, end quote. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, just 54 illegal aliens were apprehended in the Swanton sector of our northern border, which stretches more than 300 miles in March. This is a drastic 95% drop from the more than 1,000 border crossings that were caught in March 2024. This is a main hotspot area that recorded more than 80% of all apprehensions along the northern border during the 2024 fiscal year. And new reporting from the Washington Times fully highlights the difference in Joe Biden's disgraceful approach to the border compared to President Trump's. Under Trump, border catch and release has dropped 99.99% from worst Biden month. You can't get much better than that. This statistic in particular is astounding. Border Patrol agents caught and immediately released 189,604 illegal aliens into the United States in December 2023 at the height of the Biden border crisis. But under President Trump, Border Patrol agents caught and released only 20 illegal aliens into the U.S. in the month of February. Thanks to President Trump, operational control of the border is becoming a reality, and the administration's historic enforcement measures are yielding huge results. Illegal aliens are finally getting the blunt message. If you cross the border illegally, you will be swiftly deported and never return to the United States of America. Efforts to arrest the criminal illegal alien invaders are continuing to ramp up. ICE Chicago arrested a Mexican national convicted of predatory sexual assault of a child in Cook County, Illinois. This week, ICE Denver arrested a Mexican national convicted of sexual assault of a child in Houston County, Texas. ICE Miami arrested a Nicaraguan convicted of aggravated battery in Hillsborough County, Florida. ICE Houston arrested a Salvadorian national convicted of attempted sexual assault of a child and escape in Dallas County, Texas. And ICE Chicago arrested a Mexican national convicted of aggravated sexual abuse of a minor in Illinois. Despite the Democrats' insane objections, President Trump will continue to embolden law enforcement officers to arrest dangerous legal alien criminals and keep our communities safe. And also, thanks to President Trump's America First economic approach, investments continue to pour into our country. Swiss pharmaceuticals company announced they will be investing $50 billion in the United States over the next 5 years, creating 12,000 new quality. Pharmaceuticals also agreed to pay Fujifilm Technologies more than $3 billion over the next decade to help manufacture its medicines in the United States. It's a top priority for President Trump to ensure we are producing critical medicines and pharmaceutical drugs right here in America, and that is exactly what we continue to see happen every day. In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers, tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages. America is $36 trillion in debt. We must get our fiscal house in order and restore common sense to our country. If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple. President Trump will not kick the can down the road anymore. Before we open it up to questions today, I want to commend our pool photographer who is in the room with us today. ABC News photojournalist Melissa Young is retiring after 44 incredible years on the job, covering here at the White House. Melissa, congratulations. You have the largest round of applause I've ever heard in this room. So there's something we can all agree on, and it's you've had an incredible career here covering the White House. So congratulations to you, and we hope you enjoy retirement. I'm sure you will. And everybody else in the room will be very jealous of you as you're enjoying your rest. All right, let's get to it. We have a individual in our new media seat today. His name is Tim Pool. He's a political commentator and a media entrepreneur with millions of followers, a very big platform. Currently hosts Timcast IRL, a daily news and discussions show, and The Culture War, a weekly podcast exploring cultural and political issues. His programs feature in-depth conversations on topics such as free speech, censorship, identity politics, and societal change.
Did she just say Tim Pool?
With a diverse range of guests. He's in Washington today because we are also hosting a local media row across the street in the Eisenhower building, which is a testament to our commitment to bring new voices into the White House to cover the president and this administration. So, Tim, why don't you kick us off today?
Congratulations, Tim.
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on, following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you can comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which is one of the reasons we have you in here. And there's many new faces in this room in comparison to the previous administrations. We want to welcome all viewpoints into this room. We welcome unbiased journalists who really care about the truth and the facts and the accuracy. And you rightfully pointed out the Maryland man story, which I, from this podium, when The Atlantic published it on that very first day, I came to this podium and said, this is wrong. The press in this room have this story wrong. And we have seen more and more evidence come to the table that we have had all along. We were always right. The president was always on the right side of this issue to deport this illegal criminal from our community. And it is despicable to see the media continue to refer to this individual as someone who is just a peaceful man living his life in Maryland. This was and always has been an illegal criminal, an MS-13 gang member, and a designated foreign terrorist. And the administration maintains our position to deport these individuals from our community. So thank you for being here, Tim.
Thanks,
it's great
Tim.
to see you. Thank you. Dasha, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you,
You're
Caroline.
welcome.
I really appreciate it. I have two questions, one on the Pentagon and another on the economy. You said on Fox News that the entire Pentagon is working against Secretary Hegseth, but the people who were fired were Hegseth's own guys. So how do you square that, and what do you say to concerns that that's bad management?
They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss to news agencies in this room. And it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media, particularly when it comes to sensitive information. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job, and he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change. And I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense since the moment that President Trump announced his nomination before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
Is there an FBI investigation into the leaks? The secretary said that these people would be prosecuted. So is the FBI investigating?
You'd have to ask the FBI, you have to ask the Department of Justice on what they plan to do, but certainly we take leaks with the utmost seriousness.
And it would be the same with a private company. If you leak the information, you would be fired and brought up on charges.
Made it clear it's an unacceptable behavior.
On the economy, Caroline, Peter Navarro said that it's perfectly possible to do 90 deals in 90 days. We haven't seen one just yet. How soon might we see a deal, and what evidence can you share that progress is being made in these trade negotiations?
Sure. Well, I spoke to our entire trade team this morning. There is a lot of progress being made. We now have 18 proposals on paper that have been brought to the trade team. Again, these are proposals on paper that countries have proposed to the Trump administration and to our government. You have Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Ambassador Greer, NEC Director Hassett, and Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, meeting with 34 countries this week alone. We are moving at Trump speed to ensure these deals are made on behalf of the American worker and the American people. And just yesterday, it seemed to get a little bit lost in the news, and I think it's a disservice to the American public that it did. The vice president announced terms of reference for a trade deal with India. That is a big deal. We know when we look at the numbers, the monetary trade barriers and the non-monetary trade barriers from India, they have been ripping off the United States and American workers for a very long time. So the fact that the vice president with Prime Minister Modi on that trip in India announced these terms of reference, which is essentially a framework to move the ball forward to sign a good trade deal between our two nations, is great progress. And it speaks to the work ethic and the real labor that's being put into this effort by the president's trade team. Sure. Go ahead.
The proposals that you talk about, is that enough to extend the pauses on these reciprocal tariffs, or does the president need to see, these deals inked and signed to offer any sort of additional extension beyond the 90 days?
Well, look, ask me in July when the deadline hits. I know I'll be answering those questions from all of you in this room. There's a lot of time left, and the president's trade team is working again at Trump speed as quickly as they can to ensure that these deals can be made.
Are any of those conversations yet with China happening?
I actually do have something to share on that. I asked the president about this before coming out here, and he wanted me to share with all of you that
China, you guys, China.
To a potential trade deal with China. As I mentioned, there have now been 18 proposals in more than 100 countries around the world who are wanting to make a deal with the United States of America. And the president and the administration are setting the stage for a deal with China. So we feel everyone involved wants to see a trade deal happen, and the ball is moving in the right direction. Sure.
Setting the stage for a deal with China, what does that mean? Has the president spoken directly with Xi yet?
I don't have anything to read out on a direct talk between the president and President Xi, but we will continue to keep you updated.
And Secretary Bessent reportedly today told investors that this trade standoff with China he expects will be de-escalating soon because, as he described it, reportedly the situation is unsustainable. Is the president considering taking steps to de-escalate the situation with China?
Again, I just read you words directly from the President of the United States. Those are moments ago. That's where his head is at right now. Sure.
Caroline, I have two questions, one on immigration and one on China. First on immigration. Roughly how many illegal immigrants and aliens do we have in our country, and how many does the administration plan on deporting?
Sure. Well, you'd have to ask the Department of Homeland Security for a specific number, but we suspect it's definitely in the millions, perhaps upwards of 20 million people that were allowed into the country illegally by the previous administration. And the president and his team are focused on deporting as many as we possibly can. And they are moving as quickly as possible. The president's team has made it clear we need more funding from Congress to do more. We need more ICE agents out on the ground doing this very important work. And we also need rogue district court judges to stop acting as judicial activists, trying to block the administration from deporting illegal criminals from our nation's interior. The American public elected the president to do this, and he's following through with that promise.
And we have over 250,000 Chinese nationals in our country right now on student visas. Does the administration believe there's any national security concern when it comes to those over 250,000 Chinese nationals in our country?
Well, as you know, when it comes to foreign visas, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke visas of those who we feel are acting in a adversarial way to our foreign policy interests here in the United States. He has that authority.
Can we start with Harry Sisson? Anybody?
So I would defer you to the State Department for any individual case, but they are looking at individuals who are given the privilege of being on a visa in our country. And if they are acting, again, adversarial to our foreign policy interests, their visa can be revoked, and they should be aware of that. Sure. Go ahead. Yes. I'm calling on you.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Over the last few weeks, several countries have warned their citizens about travel to the U.S. and the Department of Commerce's own stats know that from a lot of countries, the number of visitors is falling. Does the White House have any message for people that might be reconsidering business or tourism travel to the U.S.?
Where did you see that report?
With the statistics coming from the Department of Commerce.
Said what? It's hard to hear you. Sorry.
That visitors from a lot of countries have fallen in the last 3 months.
I'd have to look at that report to comment on the merits of it. I think most people around the world recognize the United States of America is a great place to do business. It's a beautiful place to visit, and they should certainly come.
We have everything, every resource.
4 years ago under the previous president. Libby, good to see you.
A question about this upcoming announcement from HHS to ban food dyes. During the first week of the administration, the FDA announced that it's pulling its plan to ban menthol cigarettes. So two questions for you. How do you square a ban on menthol cigarettes being pulled and then announcing this ban on food dyes? And then how does the president feel about this upcoming ban that RFK is going to announce?
Sure. Well, look, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the president nominated him because he trusts him to make this country healthy again. It's not just a slogan. It really is a movement that has broken ground across the country. There's millions of people who believe in RFK Jr., Secretary Kennedy, and what he's doing. I don't want to get ahead of HHS with this historic announcement later and the details of it, but obviously the Secretary feels that he has reason and evidence to announce the ban on artificial dyes later, and I'll let him speak to that this afternoon. Phil.
The president started the process of reclassifying more than 50,000 federal employees as Schedule F. We've already seen him march through a number of government agencies. I'm curious, should we expect mass firings, or is this a case-by-case approach, a scalpel or a sledgehammer?
Well, look, as you saw on Friday, the president put out a statement about it. The Office of Personnel Management reclassified workers. They're now called scheduled policy/career. And all the president is trying to do is ensure that federal workers are being held accountable for corrupt behavior. If they are engaging in corruption as a government worker, they should no longer have their job. I think that's pretty common sense. He also believes that bureaucrats should be acting in accordance to the will of the American public who duly elected this president. Not just this president, but all future presidents. If you work for the government, you should be adhering to the will of the American public and advancing the administration's goals and interests. And if you are not doing that, then you should go find another job whose interests you align with. So
Agreed.
As for specific firings, I would defer you to the specific agencies, but the president in this move and Office of Personnel Management, it will make it easier to get rid of rogue bureaucrats who are engaging in corruption. Sure.
Real quick, a federal court ruled last Thursday that Google's dominance of online advertising and ad tech markets violated U.S. antitrust laws. I know the president has spoken to a number of folks in big tech, and Google's CEO was even at his inauguration. I'm curious, what is the president's reaction to that court ruling?
I'll have to ask him, and I'll get back to you, Phil. You're welcome. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Some economic questions for you. Kevin Hassett has been a key economic advisor to the president in both of his terms. In 2022,
And he still is.
And he still is.
He was just in my office.
Absolutely. In 2022,
Good
he
correction
said
there, lady.
the independence of the Fed is super important. That's a direct quote. Is that something that the president subscribes to? Does he still believe in the independence of the Federal Reserve?
Well, look, I think the president has made his position on the Fed and on Powell quite clear. The president believes that they have been making moves and taking action in the name of politics rather in the name of what's right for the American economy. The president has the right to express his displeasure with the Fed, and he has the right to say he believes interest rates should be lower. He
And so do the
believes Americans
people.
should be able to borrow money cheaper than they currently are right now. And I also spoke to Kevin Hassett about the Fed as well. And he has called into question the Fed's independence and whether they are actually doing things, again, out of the best interest of the economy, or are they doing it for partisan reasons? The president wants to see interest rates lower. He has made that quite clear.
We've also seen, if I may, I'm sorry, one more, Caroline, just about, I said two economic questions. About the dollar, we've seen the dollar at multi-year lows versus the euro.
Here they go. Here they go.
Currencies around the world. Is it the administration's policy for a strong dollar? How does it view the dollar versus other currencies around the world?
The president wants to see the dollar remain as the world's reserve currency for our long-term fiscal stability and our economic growth. He's been quite clear about that. Sure. And then to the woman behind
And
me,
remember,
who I haven't seen
Putin
before,
and
welcome.
Donald Trump, the
Go ahead,
dollar
Mary.
is the cornerstone.
The Supreme Court, if that's okay.
That's right. It's Earth Day.
Yes.
Happy Earth Day, everyone.
I saw the president truthing about the garbage pileup from China and the Pacific, and then I believe Lee Zeldin is headed to San Diego to investigate the pile of sewage from Mexico. Can you speak to what the White House has planned for Earth Day and anything in that area?
Sure. I do have points from the EPA. Administrator Zeldin is doing a fantastic job, and they are always sharing their accomplishments with the White House, which we very much appreciate. He will be traveling. I believe he's in California today for sewage situation. Here you go. Administrator Zeldin met with his Mexican counterpart to discuss steps Mexico needs to take to ensure the water entering the United States is clean and safe. And he's holding a press conference in San Diego today with elected officials and local stakeholders on the Tijuana River sewage crisis. I would also add from the president himself, he has always maintained he wants America to have the cleanest air and the cleanest water. And we want to do what's right for our environment and for our earth. And a lot of that is making sure that we have clean and sustainable energy. And we know that we produce natural gas cleaner and more efficiently than any country in this world. And the president wants to see
And
that.
also making sure California is not dumping perfectly good drinking water into the ocean.
Parents who don't want their kids having to read gender ideology books in schools. Can you comment on that case and what the Trump administration hopes to see come from that?
Sure. We hope the Supreme Court will do the right thing. And the president has been very clear. He stands on the side of parental rights, and he believes strongly that parents should have a greater say in their children's education and the content, if you will, that children are being exposed to in our public school system. Sure. Go ahead.
Hi. I'm Karoline Leavitt with World News Group. The administration ended some temporary protections for Afghans, including several hundred Christians who have been punished by the Taliban. Is the president considering any exceptions for Afghans who could face death or torture if they return to their home country?
So let's just be clear about one thing. We didn't end that proactively. It expired. And it's because the previous administration illegally paroled millions of people, or hundreds of thousands of people, into the country. And then gave them temporary protective status, which again is a temporary status. It's not a permanent status in this country. And if there are individuals here who came in through the Biden administration who want to claim asylum, there is a legal process to do that. And those cases will be adjudicated by a judge on a case-by-case basis. We have a legal immigration process in this country for a reason. And all this administration is trying to do effectuate that.
Dismantle it.
Two questions for you on immigration. March deportation numbers were down slightly from the same time period last year. SCOTUS recently ordered a pause on deporting Trinidad Tobago members with the Alien Enemies Act. I'm curious what other tools the administration is looking at to boost those deportation numbers.
Sure. Well, we are obviously complying with the court's order. However, it was a temporary pause. The Supreme Court basically said, sit tight, and they will follow up with an order. And we're confident that the Supreme Court will rule on the side of law and recognize the president absolutely
We
has
hope so.
the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our nation's interior under the Alien Enemies Act. We feel very strongly about that, and we're confident the courts will side with the president and his executive authority. As for deportations, we continue to deport illegal criminals under Title VIII, which is an immigration authority given to our Border Patrol agents and the Department of Homeland Security to deport illegal criminals from this country. And the administration continues to do that at record speed as quickly as they can with the resources that they have.
And all those leftists should be arrested and put on that terror list.
Caught in Woodbridge, Virginia, with the idea that this will expedite the deportation process. Does the administration plan to drop charges against other criminal illegals to speed along the deportation process?
You'd have to ask the Department of Justice. Obviously, that's within their purview, and I can't speak for them. However, it is our goal to deport as many illegal criminals and aliens from our country as we possibly can, as quickly as we can. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. We've heard so much about this Saudi trip planning, and the president's mentioned it himself before, but I don't think we've ever heard on the record what he hopes to achieve in Saudi Arabia and what the purpose of the trip is.
Sure. Well, the president looks forward to this. It was supposed to be his first foreign visit, but of course now he is going to Rome this weekend to honor the Pope and attend the funeral. The president looks to strengthen the ties between the United States and these countries in which he will be visiting. He'll be having many bilateral meetings and talks, and we look forward to the trip and hope to see many of you there.
And the meetings in London this week, do they have any nexus with the plans in Saudi Arabia?
I can't speak to that. However, I do have an update on meetings when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war. I was just in the Oval Office with the president, Steve Witkoff, and they wanted everybody to know that the negotiations continue. We feel, again, we're hopefully moving in the right direction. And the special envoy, Steve Witkoff, will be heading to Russia again later this week to continue talks with Vladimir Putin.
Is that why Rubio is not heading to London? Is he accompanying Witkoff to Moscow?
I can't speak for the Secretary of State's travel schedule. I'd defer you to the Department of State.
And more broadly, just about the peace agreement, the talks that are ongoing. Secretary Rubio had said that if things don't go the right way, that the U.S. might need to take a step back. What does stepping back look like? Is that a step back from brokering peace, or would that imply a broader withdrawal from U.S. support for Ukraine and the war?
Look, I think it would be unwise for me to broadcast that from this podium. Ultimately, that's a decision for the president to make, but he's made it very clear he wants to see peace. He wants to see this war end.
But if they don't want peace, they need to back away. We need to back away and concentrate on
Very
America.
clear about that for quite some time, and he has grown frustrated with both sides of this war, and he's made that very known. Brian.
Thanks, Caroline. Last week, the president talked about nonprofit groups, specifically taking on crew, and he hinted that there could be further actions taken against nonprofits. Does the White House have any plans for any sort of actions against NGOs, nonprofits, or other similar groups? Is any of that coming up? Is that being worked on at this time?
I'll have to check in with our policy team and get back to you. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Travis Gilmore with the Epoch Times. Are some colleges using taxpayer funds to further political agendas? And what is the administration's response to Harvard's lawsuit?
Sure. Well, the president has made it quite clear that it's Harvard who has put themselves in the position to lose their own funding by not obeying federal law. And we expect all colleges and universities who are receiving taxpayer funds to abide by federal law. It's quite simple. And the president made it clear he's not going to tolerate violations of federal law. He's not going to tolerate illegal harassment and violence towards Jewish American students or students of any faith on our campuses across the country. And so we will be responding to the lawsuit in court. And again, it's quite simple. If you want federal dollars, obey federal law.
And just a quick follow up on China. Any response to reports that China is targeting U.S. trade allies with potential retaliatory measures for supporting U.S. agendas?
I think the numbers and the sheer number of countries that have reached out to the United States and reached out to this administration to cut good trade deals speak for themselves. The entire world knows that they need the United States of America and they want to do business here. And so we'll stay focused on cutting good trade deals on behalf of the American worker. Stephanie.
Can you give us any additional details from the president's call with Netanyahu today?
I did speak to the president about it. It was a good call. They spoke particularly about Iran and the negotiations that are underway with Iran and the United States. And the president has made it very clear repeatedly, but I'll reiterate, there is no daylight between the United States of America and the state of Israel. He stands strongly behind our ally. He's made it quite clear when it comes to Iran that we want to see a deal, and Iran has a choice to make. But the president has also made it very clear, and he reiterated that in his call with Prime Minister Netanyahu today about the need for Iran to never obtain a nuclear weapon. I do have one more bit of news that I would like to share with all of you. Just give me 1 second to find it. And it's in regards to the terrorist attack that took place in India earlier today. The president has been briefed by the National Security Advisor, and he's being kept up to speed as more facts are learned. What we know already is dozens were killed and even more were injured in a brutal terrorist attack in a popular tourist location in South Kashmir. President Trump will be speaking with Prime Minister Modi as soon as he possibly can to express his heartfelt condolences for those lost. And our prayers are with those injured and our nation's support for our ally, India. These types of horrific events by terrorists are why those of us who work for peace and stability in the world continue our mission. So we'll give you a readout of that call later this afternoon. There's a lot of work to be had. You may hear from the president later this afternoon as well, and we'll see you all later. Thank you.
Were any Americans among those dual American citizens?
All right, guys, that appears to be the end of it. Sorry, I had to run outside and grab the dog, so forgive me. So what do you guys think about all that? So a lot of questions were asked. Congratulations to Tim Cass, Tim Pool for making it to the press secretary room. I always love to see content creators and just regular day people make it into that room and be able to ask really tough questions. So you guys, thank you for joining today. If you're joining from Mixed Texan Report YouTube channel, we're going to close out on that channel. Hang with me on West Virginia Wire. We'll keep it going for a little bit. I'm not sure how long. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and close out right now. So you guys, thanks for joining, and we will see you on the flip flop. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's hear a word from our sponsor for West Virginia Wire, and then we'll close out.
Are you ready to take control of your health and wellness? Introducing Tranont Health Products, a premium line of nutrition and wellness supplements designed to support your body's natural balance. From essential vitamins and minerals to advanced detox formulas, Tramont's products are crafted with the highest quality ingredients to help you feel your best every day. Whether you're looking to boost energy, improve digestion, or support immune health, Tranont has something for everyone. Take the first step toward a healthier you with Tranont. Visit www.tranont.com/Regina Cannell to learn more and start your wellness journey today.
All right, guys, and if you are tuning in from Mixed Texan Report, you guys make sure you slide by the merch shop. Check out the great T-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, everything. There's a lot of stuff there to choose from, representing the great state of Texas. That is my home state. I'm originally from West Texas, you guys. I have recently started the Glow M collagen, and the Activate, Transform, and Enrich is a great combo pack for the gut and brain health. If you guys want to find out more, hit me up. Let's talk about it. Whether you're just looking to get some products in you or you want to become an associate, get some extra money, let us know. All right, guys, we've enjoyed this live. I enjoyed the press conference, always being able to catch up on the latest things, you guys, and we will see you on the flip flop.
To to the rivers wide, tune in this time through Take the Ride. Regina's voice, it's your guide. West Virginia's heart, it's right inside. West Virginia, why hear the news? Politics and stories, what's shaping you? From the capital to the county.